The hard left has been lying to us a long time about faith, family, the free market education. That's what we believed in. And the only way we were going to command respect was not by begging for it or asking for it or passing legislation. It was commanding it by winning. All those things coming out for Obama will be worse than going to having a trial, to be honest with you.
Well, welcome out to God and Country. I'm Uriah Kennedy, and this is Ingrid Bettridge. We have an awesome guest with us this week. We have Burgess Owens on the line. Burgess, say hi to our audience, and we're glad to have you on board here.
Hello, everyone. Looking forward to chatting with you, and we've got some great topics to go through. So looking forward to it, my friend. Absolutely.
So as we were talking a few minutes ago, I mean, it's only been 6 months that Trump's been in office. He's done amazing work, been able to accomplish more than we would ever have dreamed to when we actually voted him in. What's your opinion? You've been in the office for a while. What's your opinion on how fast he's moving?
This is my third term. I've never seen anything like it. And I would like to start off with saying thank you to the American people. This is an answer to many prayers back in November that we pull ourselves back from the edge that Marxists had taken us to. And here we are now. We have things that many of us have never thought could happen in a very, very fast pace. So just know this also, because leading up to this last year, the American people were giving us America First Congress, Senate. President Trump gave us a Supreme Court, 3 justices that are very America First. And of course, they elected him. So it's the American people who just said, finally, I want to get back to normalcy, to common sense, to love for country, appreciation for our kids. And all of this is now happening within 6 months because we've been given a mandate to do so. So I'm excited about being part of it.
And I don't think the other side was ready for this. I'm positive going into that November election that they weren't imagining that we were going to have the White House, the Senate, Congress, and the Supreme Court all in the red side.
Yeah.
Did you see some surprise phases across the aisle going back in there?
Let me just say this: the left doesn't imagine at all. When they have an ideology that drives the left, which is Marxism, Marxism stands for everything we stand against. You know, who are we? What is the American way? No matter what our color is, our background, our religion, it doesn't matter. We believe in a few basic tenets: faith, family, the free market, the ability to go out, build your dreams, and take risks, and education. So those are things. Those are things that we have always been very high on. The Democrats and the left has long left that plantation. So what we've seen over the last few years, and it was concentrating in 4 years of an administration that hated everything we just talked about. So no, they did not see it coming. They were going to make sure they could cheat, and that's what we're finding out now about Obama and Biden. They're going to do whatever they had to do, no matter whether it was within the confines of law and order, and they're paying a price for it. The American people are really saying, you know, we don't want that anymore. We want it to be free. We want to be want a legacy. We want to be excited about a life, not hopeless. So I'm really happy that we're where we are, and we've had a chance to go through some very dark times to appreciate where we are at this point.
They've paid a very, very steep price, and yet they're still doubling down.
Yeah.
AOC is getting more and more popular. Her and Bernie Sanders went on their little tour and gaining a lot of popularity. Even here in Utah, they went up to the University of Utah and huge crowds up there. We're seeing what's going on in New York with their supposed mayor that's gotten through somehow. Is there any semblance of change going on their side, or do you think they're just going to keep going down this socialistic?
I'm hoping they keep going with their beliefs. Understand one thing: when there's no God, there's no wisdom. You have to keep that in mind. What we're seeing on the left is a lack of wisdom. We call it common sense sometimes. We call it fairness, vision. They're lacking all of it. And what they want to do is they want to perform. They want to go out and make a lot of splash with stuff that makes no difference to the American people. What we've been able to do on our side, and this has always been the Republican Party, by the way. We're the party that stood up against slavery, against the KKK, against segregation. We were the party that's always been very inclusive, very strong about our values. And so I would say that the greatest thing we have right now is that American people are seeing it and appreciating it. And we're going to get the credit for it because we have a president who is a genius when it comes to business ownership. He's a genius when it comes to negotiating, and he loves our country. You put that together, this is the first time, I think, in history, I know in my lifetime, and I love President Reagan, but this is the first time we've had a person who has the experience of how to run a business that are applying it now to our country. And so therefore, inflation is going down. The price of everything is going down. Energy cost is going down. We now have a bill just passed, and I will get into this a little bit later, I'm sure, tax credit permanently. We're going to have incentives for parents to have kids. I mean, I'll go through a list of what we're doing now. It's all positive. And for those who are sad and angry, you got to wonder, where their priorities are. Because for the rest of us, we're very excited about where we are right now.
Thank you. You give us a lot of hope because the mainstream media sure makes it look like the majority of America is being fooled. But I really think it's just the outspoken minority.
Because that was a very good point. The upside of where we are, guys, is that we've been fighting to get truth out. That's been the fight. The hard left has been lying to us a long time. They've lied to the black community. I want to talk about that also. The black lied to the black community for 60 years. We now have we're kind of at a crossroad. We just passed one big beautiful bill, and either it's going to work or it's not. If it works, which it will, the American people realize how much of a liars these guys have always been. They won't trust the mainstream media because they've been lying to us. They won't trust the Democratic Party because they've been lying to us. And we're going to start to see when people get hope that the reason it came is because they voted for a Republican Party and a Republican mandate. So we're in a really good place in terms of historic change because they've been getting away with it for so many decades. And that's why we had the issues on the college campuses. They've been teaching us to hate each other, to hate Jewish people, for blacks to hate whites, the whites to hate. We've been going through that for way too long. We're done with it. And the American people now see what it feels like to have hope. And one last thing on that, it's within our DNA to be hopeful. That's just who we are. We started as the Judeo-Christian values that believe that there's a greater power that gives us blessings if we do the right things. And so here we are today. We're hopeful again. And it was just a matter of time before we got there. We're blessed, all of us, to be living during this time that we can see it, feel it, and again, see it real time.
I believe what you're saying wholeheartedly. There's a really sensitive topic right now, which is immigration. We don't want to see immigration going forward exactly how Trump is doing it right now. And what I really want to discuss right now is kind of the similarities between what has happened in the past in the black community and what is currently happening now with illegal immigrants. The left tends to try to get people subservient to the government, dependent on the government. They use all your social assistance programs, your food stamps, your WIC, your Medicaid, and they get an entire population just subservient to the government and dependent on the government. And we've discussed this many times in our podcast that once you have that dependency, it's almost like a drug addiction, and it takes so long and so much work to get out of that dependency. And sometimes it takes absolute generations. And I think that subservience, that dependency has destroyed a lot of the black communities around the country. But I'm seeing the exact same thing happen now with illegals, where you'll see it in blue states where they're opening up their coffers, like what Newsom's done out in California, and just handing out all these handouts, getting them on food stamps, getting them on Medicaid, all the illegals, and just paying for everything. Because the left's entire goal from the beginning has been a path to citizenship, because all they care about is importing these voters and getting them dependent so that they'll always vote for them. What's your opinion on that? Do you see that pattern that I'm talking about there?
You just nailed it. Let me go back for the audience who don't really understand or have had an idea of what our history is all about. I'm going to talk for a couple minutes about the Black history. This is something that's not been taught. It will not be taught by the left or the educational system because they don't want it taught. But you have to understand, I grew up in the 1960s, segregation, KKK, Jim Crow, but a remarkable community that believed in those tenets I just talked about. My first exposure to white Americans wasn't until I was 16 years old. So everything that about me, my base, my beliefs, my patriotism, is all came from this black community. My dad was a World War II vet. So were my uncles. So what's interesting, remember I talked about faith, family, the free market education? That's what we believed in. And the only way we were going to command respect was not by begging for it or asking for it or passing legislation. It was commanding it by winning, by meritocracy. And we understood that. So here's the results of meritocracy in the black communities between the 40s and the early 70s. We led the country in the growth middle class. We led the country in men matriculating from college. We have more men leaving college with a degree than any other race during this period. We led the country in men committed to marriage. We had the highest percentage of men committed to marriage. Only 20% of black men were not committed. So 80% of our black men were committed to their families. And any man who was not committed, we did not respect. So we had a remarkable, strong family with the idea of a legacy where my parents' goal very simply was to make sure that I left that community and gave the rest of the world an idea of how good we were, how much we deserved the respect. And the last thing was business ownership. Because of the segregated community, we did not go outside the community to buy stuff. It was all within. So we had this remarkable middle class because when money stays within a community and it continues to revolve around the community, the middle class grows. So whether it be Baker's Pharmacy or Speed's grocery store or the hospital with black doctors and nurses, I saw all of it when I was growing up. Now, what's happened in the last 60 years? Dependency. They put out welfare program. I saw them going after black women when I was a kid. When you have these HUD apartment units, the only thing you have to be in there for a young lady is not have a job, not have a man in the house, and have as many kids as you want to. If you want to see how dependency is developed, start off with that one. And then have these young men growing up, never seeing what it is to have a strong, independent, focused, entrepreneurial man. See guys coming in and leaving. And that's how you change in generations from a very self-sufficient, very independent people to one that's dependent. So what's happened now with the left? They believe, first of all, in hopelessness, in dependency, in death. That is the godless ideology that we've been dealing with. And what's happened the last 4 years, black Americans waking up, I would say the last probably 8 years, they're realizing the Democratic Party has not been right. It has not been fair, has not been keeping their word. I left the Democratic Party 40 years ago. And I've been waiting for this day where black Americans, Hispanic Americans finally figure out the truth that the left is a devious, has a devious and dark heart. All they do is they thrive on hurting people. So what's happened now? Now they realize that the black community is now leaving and going and looking different directions, slowly but surely. They're now trying to put an invasion of our country of people that they can do the same thing all over again. So instead of trying to figure out how to make the black lives better, to allow us to have good schools where our kids can grow up, to have a business that thrives and grows, to build a middle class that we had back in the 60s. Instead of doing that, they want to invade our country with people who don't know our language, don't know our culture, cannot assimilate because they're coming way too fast, but they will always vote on those who give them freebies. So you nailed it. That's what the plan has been. Thank goodness for the American people in November of last year. They voted for a president who loves our country and is playing chess as these guys are playing checkers. And they cannot keep up. They cannot catch up. And so we're looking at, in real time, guys, we're looking at real time intergenerational change we're going to leave our kids so much better off than they ever have been, because now the message is coming through. We need to be innovative. We need to work together. We need to not have the divisiveness that the left wants us to have. And we will go back to the way we were before Obama to become a more perfect union. And I'm looking forward to being that in that site for sure.
And I'm glad everybody's kind of waking up to that. I'm starting to see that more and more in each community. But the left is kind of like just throwing the black community off to the wayside and says, well, if you're not going to vote for us, we're just going to find somebody else. Yeah. It's like they don't even care. Well, we know for a fact they don't even care. If you're not going to vote for them, you're just going to get thrown to the side, kicked to the curb, and they're just going to go off for their next voting block. Which
it's something that I didn't know when I was younger. There's a word called narcissist.
Yes.
And anybody who's run across one, you know it. You know what I'm talking about. It is one of those the mindset mentality that you can't get through to. It's mentality that's solely so social, so selfish centered that they'll never see the truth, and they'll always try to gaslight and get over on somebody else. So if you see a narcissist, don't try to change them. Get away. There's too many other good people out there that we have options to work with. And right now, the Democratic Party is a group of narcissists. And they've proven that through the last 60 years that the black community has depended on them. Look at where we are now. We're at the very top in terms of a families that's just has dissolved, totally a mess. We have fewer business owners now than in any other race. Education, if you want to find 75% of black boys in the state of California cannot read and write, look at California, look at the Democratic Party. I can go through the list. Everything that I just talked about, how well we've done, we're at the very bottom of that. And that's why the black community is so sick and tired right now. People like myself and others who are pretty much saying, listen, guys, we need to change course. If I can do this, you can do this. If we can go back toward hopefulness, to service, to merit, to loving each other, looking at each other inside out, not outside in, believing in a God, no matter how you believe in a God that will bless you if you do the very best you can. We go back to that. We'll go back to one of the greatest communities to grow out of poverty than ever before. And that's what I'm looking forward to getting done. And it will not be because of the Democratic Party. It will be in spite of the Democratic Party.
Amen.
Very, very true. I mean, what subservience and what dependence on the government creates is it destroys self-esteem, it destroys work ethic, it destroys hope because you just kind of lose all that generationally, and it takes generations to be able to build that self-esteem back because parents are not teaching that self-esteem to the children. They're not teaching that work ethic to the children. It's got to come from outside influences in, and it's significantly more difficult to teach generations from outside in than it is from parents to children. And the parents have been subservient and dependent on the government for so long, they just don't have those morals and values. They don't have those principles. And the only way to gain those is through faith in God. It is through good work ethic.
And that's why they're attacking the traditional family, because that's just genius. Destroy the family and you've got a hold of people.
That is from the beginning of time is the way it's always been done. Values are taught through the family. Values of unconditional love are seen in the family. The ideas of having to have respect for mom and dad come within the family. And I'll tell you, I'm so blessed to have been raised in the family I was. And I was taught very early, here's the tenets my dad taught us. And this is a World War II vet. Somebody came back very proud of the service he had. He says, you want to grow up and be a young man, successful, proud of who you are, no matter what you decide your career might be, learn to love God, country, family, respect women, and authority. And for our girls, our ladies out there, if you want to have a very great life, to have a happy life and one that you're proud of your family and your husband, find a man who loves God, country, family, respects women, and authority. We get that done. And I'll say one thing, ladies do that, they will up the bar. Guys will do whatever it takes to get that respect. And if that's what the bar is, that you respect young ladies and authority, then young men will learn how to do that, even if they have not grown up in that environment. So we're going to get back to that. And I'll say this too, the blessing of where we are right now is, you're right, we've been going through this for decades. We've been under attack for a long, long time. But it takes a president who understands not only what we're up against, but understands the values that made our country great and has the ability to think outside the box. We have a president right now who's actually, in so many different ways. You look at the One Big Beautiful Bill, whether it be business ownership, whether it be the focus on the family once again, and mega bucks, or I think it's called Trump bucks now, as you have more children, there's going to be money set aside by the government to help them to do things as they get older. You look at the safety. You cannot build a business, you cannot have a family and really build your dreams if you don't feel safe. If you're invading our country from everywhere around the world, taking away the supply that we need to raise to teach our kids, to have good health care. If you're overwhelming the system, that is the way the communist socialists work. They overwhelm the system so people get hopeless, and then we depend on them to fix it for us. Well, we have a president who knows how to fix it. And I would tell the Democrats, what you got to do when you enter a room, you want to succeed, act as if you're the dumbest one in the room and ask for advice. If they would do that and they'll ask for advice from a guy who is a billionaire as a businessman, is successful in everything he's touched, remarkable family, respect for millions of people around the world, I would suggest taking advice from that guy, then taking it from yourself. When you look around, you see nothing like that in your lifetime. So that's where I think we're going to be, and I think more and more people are going in that direction.
Yeah, people just want to listen to the rhetoric because they don't want to believe it. They don't want to believe in what's the truth because they've got their set way of thinking, and the only thing they're going to look for is to prove their thought process. That they're not open to anything else. I want to get to one more little topic on immigration, then I want to move into the big, beautiful bill and a few other things. But you just mentioned kind of a key thing is at the rate that immigrants are coming into this country, it's just not sustainable. We had a podcast 2 weeks ago where I actually interviewed my wife and one of her friends who are sworn in as U.S. citizens. In fact, my wife swears in on August 13 as a U.S. citizen, and she's from Colombia. And when you go through that detailed process, you learn about what the United States is, what it represents. You learn that socialism doesn't work. You learn what the wars were, why we fought those wars. And you learn a respect and an honor and an appreciation for what we have in this country. You understand what the founding fathers fought for. You understand what our soldiers have fought and died for. All that comes in through a process of immigration where you're learning that kind of stuff. When you're just having mass importation where everybody's just crossing the border, they don't have, like you said, that simulation. They don't have that time to process or learn anything. So all they come across the border with is what they have known their entire life. And all they've known down in Mexico and these South American countries, over in the Middle East, wherever they're coming from, is socialism, garbage in the streets, laws that aren't enforced, traffic laws that aren't enforced. And then they start turning what they have here into what they had there, not because they're trying to, but
that's
because
all they know.
That's all they know. That's all they know, and it completely destroys our fabric, destroys our principles, bankrupts us because we have too much money going towards that. And then you got all these people protesting that and saying that we are racist for kicking these people out. What's your response to what's going on in the streets, like what happened in the streets in California and those people that are trying to impede ICE from doing their job?
Well, you nailed it. The word is called assimilation. What makes America the great country we've always been is people come from all around the world to become an American. They don't come from all around the world to continue to be whatever they were before. So to come here, the first thing they want to do, and this, we're going back to even the earlier days, my dad's when he was a kid, what immigrants would do, they'll come here and they won't speak a word of their former language. They will speak English around the house because they want their kids to learn English. They want them to assimilate. They want to go out and build a business. They want to be called Americans. Go to any place else around the world and you'll be called whatever that country is. You'll be a French, you'll be whatever it is, wherever you go, it will be, you'll be called whatever your heritage might be. So assimilation is what it's all about. Understand the Marxists understand that too. It's so important that we teach our kids what the ideology of Marxism is. It's evil. It's pure evil. When you have something that goes against our way is assimilating, becoming one, we the people, looking at each other inside out, being innovative, having a business where you can really build your dreams and take risks, and knowing that if you fail in this country, you can start all over again and learn from that and keep going. We have become a more perfect union from the time I grew up in the segregated South to now, where my family literally is every color under the rainbow: white, black, Hispanic, American Indian, Trinidadian. And guess what? We call each other family, and my grandkids call each other cousins. That's the American way. The Marxist hates that. And until we start to realize we're in a spiritual battle, it is truly the same evil force that tried to stop our country from the very beginning is the same evil force we have today. That's why I have so much praise for the American people, because we held on to our core values, our beliefs of hope, and elected a president who can give us that. If we're going the other way, if we still had Biden Harris in place, this country would be done. We're over. The idea of
Be
freedom,
absolutely over.
the idea of freedom would never be a conversation we can have again. So know that that's what we're up against. Know that moving forward, I'm going to ask everybody's listening to this, never sit on the sideline ever again. You know, we have this freedom bubble we live in, and it's so easy for us to say, you know what, I'm going to build my business, spend time with my family, build memories, go out and do my thing, and let somebody else take care of it. The best of the best of us, we all have a voice, and whatever that might be, it's important that we are engaged, that we're part of it. Because only through engagement can we hold on to this legacy. And the next couple of years is going to be big for us. Because I think once we have put in place the foundation back again of a good educational system, of businesses can run their business and know that they're not going to be punished when they become successful. A business in which they can pass down to their kid and know that they're not going to be punished because they passed on. These are the little things that's happening, we're doing, that President Trump is putting in place that's going to give us such a great chance to really have our kids and great grandkids to live the American dream. So these are good times to be part of. And just know we're fighting against pure evil. And if we keep that in mind, we'll keep our guards up at all times.
And people don't really realize that it is pure evil. They think it's something to negotiate with, and you can't negotiate with evil. It's just not possible. A couple of reports came out. A couple of reports came out. So New York Times just came out with a report that the crime rate throughout the country, including Chicago, LA, and these other major cities, has actually gone down significantly. Some of these cities are seeing 30 to 45% drops in crime from last year to this year. And then, and we all have to assume that's because the cops are back working again, right? Because it's Trump supporting that. And the other thing is Bill Maher just came out with a comment where he's like, well, I'm going to have to give it to Trump, and I have to give him credit that the tariffs are working because our economy is booming. What do you think of those two reports? One from Bill Maher and one from New York Times there.
Well, what I love about time and our American way, that eventually it shows itself, our way shows itself to be true. And up until this point, we've had these conversations, who's telling the truth? Is it Democrats or Republicans? And until we were able to pass this one big, beautiful bill, among other things we've passed, it's been very difficult for us to tell the honest truth because they always spin it in a different way. What's happening right now is that Americans are realizing we have a very, very smart president. And I know they got to take off their little narcissist hat, that they're not the smartest in the room. But President Trump is showing why he has become a billionaire in business, why he's respected around the world in business, and why being a tough pro-American representative commands respect from the rest of the world. We have always been the leader in around the world, and we're finally getting back to that. And here's something so big, it's important to understand. We have always had the largest middle class in the history of mankind. This is where we grow it through our business ownership. And our middle class is, first of all, powered by small businesses that go out and they produce and they hire and they put taxes back in, and that middle class continues to grow. What was under attack during COVID? Small businesses, because the hard left wanted to destroy that core of what makes our country free. That middle class not only has funds to pay and buy stuff, but they also have the values that keeps this country moving forward. So right now with tariffs, he's proven to the rest of the world that if you want to buy, you want to move forward, if you want to plug into our remarkable middle class like nothing else in the history around the world, you need to pay for that. You just don't come in and take our industries, our money, our people, our whatever it might be, in our innovation, and just go off and do your thing. So we have now an income flow called tariffs. We're now looking at $300 billion, and that's just, I didn't add in what's just happened today with EU. Imagine having that kind of money coming in, where he's talking about, instead of having this high income tax, let's have exterior tax. Lower the tax on American people as he's creating this remarkable income from everywhere around the world. American people have more in their pockets. They have more to spend. More business can now take advantage of going outside our country and have international trade, which has been cut off until now. We're talking about golden age. we have never seen what's coming at us right now, the opportunity we have. And again, the bottom line is this: if we allow the small business owners to do their thing, take their risks, build their great culture of giving, of making sure their legacy is growing, of making sure their community is safe, let them do their thing. That will continue to grow, and that will continue to be, will continue to not only the freest country in the history of mankind, but through our influence, other countries will begin to replicate what we have.
Well, if you look at our comments section, we've just got dozens and dozens of comments on tariffs because we've discussed tariffs many, many times, and I've been responding back to them. And the big complaint people have about tariffs is it's an additional tax on the consumer. And part of that is correct, and part of it is not correct. Because, and I've explained this to many people, when tariffs first kick in, yes, we as a consumer, we're paying a little bit more because those costs get passed on to us from whoever's the importer is. And I'm an importer myself. I've imported from China for 20 years, and lots of products I've delivered to Walmart and other big box retailers. But what they don't understand is, as a small business owner, I am then going to my suppliers within China and these other states. I'm saying, okay, these tariffs are kicking in. I'm not going to eat all of that. So we're going to be renegotiating our prices here so that I can cover these tariffs when they come in. So the tariffs will have a spike where the consumer's hitting it, a lot of it, or eating a lot of it at the beginning. But us business owners, we're going to start using our heads and start negotiating new prices with our supplier, our foreign suppliers. And the other thing a lot of people don't understand is we have to be able to export as much as we're importing, because if not, then we're subsidizing the rest of the world, and that also kills the dollar value and it kills our economy. But nobody on the left, none of the news media expresses that other side of the coin.
So let me just say this, and I hope those who are listening, please turn off the other side of the coin, okay? You're not going to get honesty. If you want hope, don't go to people who just ponder and pander hopelessness. If that's all you're going to get, that you will become hopeless. Now, let me just say this about tariffs. Remember, President Trump mentioned reciprocal. All right, so in other words, we have been tariffed by other countries, and we have not tariffed them. This is free for them, but we got to pay an extra price to go into their markets. And you're right, that because of that we have a deficit. And what does the deficit means? It means that our businesses do not have a chance to go out and export and bring money back to their communities, to their businesses for their growth. We're leaving everything on the plate for the other side. It's been so unfair. And because every country understands it's been unfair, that's why they're negotiating. I mean, at some point they'll get away with it as long as they can because it's to their benefits. I mean, we have very, I would say, ignorant, might be on purpose, people on our side negotiating for our good, and we find out that we're always on the bad end of the stick. Well, that's changed. We now have literally Tokyo, Japan. So Japan came in, and I think they're investing something like $550 billion that we can spend any way we want to. Plus, they're paying a 15% tariff. So we're going to have money continue to come in to our coffers. We're going to bend that curve so we're no longer in debt. We have, $37 trillion in debt because of these guys in the past. That is not smart business. So I would say whatever's been done before, let's just wipe the slate and realize they didn't know what they were doing because we're in a bad place until now. Let's take for granted. We'll take the experience. I think about teams that had tremendous cultures. We talked about this a little before. You had the Oakland Raiders in the old days, and then you had the Patriots. They had a culture that all of a sudden we just took for granted. When they came on the field for a period of time, they were going to win. And they were going to win. It was going to be a good game. So everybody tuned into them because they proved themselves. Well, the other side has proven that they don't know what they're doing, or they purposely don't like our country, or they purposely figured out there's some way of getting self-aggrandizement to this process. We now have a president who doesn't need their money. He doesn't need their praise. He loves our country, and he's putting all on the line. So all of a sudden, our small business is going to be growing. Our middle class is going to prosper like never before. We'll get our kids going to go to work for all this trillions of dollars being brought into this country by other businesses. They're going to have places to go to work, join the middle class, use the innovative to pass down to their kids. I am so excited what's going to happen in the next 3.5 years, number one, and then the legacy we're going to leave for our kids after that we will never see in our lifetime, but we can see in our mind where it's heading off to, and be very excited about what those our future kids and grandkids are going to have a chance to do.
The question I have is passing the big beautiful bill. The main concern that most consumers have, it was not that the tax cuts and making all those permanent, because we 100% believe in the vast majority of what the big beautiful bill put forward. But Elon Musk worked for months with DOGE, pulling back all this wasteful spending, pulling back USAID, all the wasteful spending in Department of Education and Department of Defense. Everybody's concerned as to all that money that he has found. Where is that money, and how do we get that so that applies to debt, that applies to expenditures that the big beautiful bill is going to need for the border, whatever that we're trying to put out there. Where is that at trying to rein in and find that
that's
money?
called rescission. We just passed a $9.4 billion rescission package, and that's just one of many. The next one's coming out. We should have at least two of those. The next one's going to come out dealing more with education. I think it's important, and this is where the education piece comes in. We need to know and learn how our government works. That way, either we get more engaged, or at least we're not as frustrated. If we think that the government works like a receiver that runs to the 15-yard line and makes a quick out, that's not the way it goes. It's like a ship trying to make a circle. It is a big circle, the bigger the ship is. So the first thing we have to do is recognize Hail Marys do not work. We tried to do that. And I was in my second term. We had some folks on our side that said, this is not good. It's not perfect. We can't do this because it's not getting all the money we need. And therefore, we shot everything down. And guess what? We almost lost the majority. What we have right now is a strategic view of what it's going to take to make it happen. We only have 3-vote margin, a 3-vote margin. What we've done so far is miraculous. For all of our different concerns, whether it be debt, whether it be education, whether it be safety, we all have different concerns. In the past, as a party, we've never been able to put aside those things that we could not agree on and agree on what we could. We could never quite get to the next phase. Well, we have done that now. So not only does the one big beautiful bill make sure that the taxes are permanent, gives Trump a chance to do his tariffs. He's going to start looking at ways of pulling back money like we've never thought before. But we had to have some trust that our leader knows what he's talking about. So now that we have the one big beautiful bill, we're now going through, because of the trifecta. This is also important. We have never had an America First trifecta with House, Senate, and President all on the same page. That the President has enough command that we will follow his lead and not go out and try and blow him up. So we have in place not only one big beautiful bill, but we have the ability to put through these rescission packages. And they're going to look at what DOGE has done. Of course, we still have to negotiate because, unfortunately, we don't have a 3 seats margin. And we also need to keep this in mind. I'm very blessed to be in a very red district, rural country, same values I grew up with. I mean, it's been a pleasure. But we have some very good conservative people that love our country the same way that are in blue districts. And guess what? I don't want to lose those guys. They're friends of ours. They add up to the votes we need. They have the same values we have. They also represent a different constituency. So we have to give space to understand that we have a very fluid conference, that we're not getting everything we need until we get a lot more. We get a lot more. The American people give us a 40, 50 seat margin. Believe me, you're going to see things happen so fast it'll blow your mind. But right now we have 3. We have 3 seat margin, and we got the one big beautiful bill through by 2 votes. Two votes we lost. So I would say let's take a moment, count our many blessings. The fact that we are where we are right now is a miracle, that we've been able to get through continued resolutions, budget resolutions. In the past, we've never been able to do, to get to this one big beautiful bill. Let's count our blessings, know that we have a president and a House and Senate that believes in him and will follow his lead, that's going to continue to get us to the next phase. Because of the trifecta, again, we'll have another 2 bites of the apple. So look for another a reconciliation. I think that's going to happen this fall. And after reconciliation, we're going to have another rescission package. So hang in there, guys. We're only 6 months in. All right.
So on this rescission package that you guys just passed, how hard was it to get that done? I mean, how much conflict within the House did you have where people were really trying to bantering back and forth on that?
And this is why I want people to understand that where we are right now is no short of a miracle. Only President Trump could have done it. Um, First of all, we have a lot of very strong, loud voices, and they're all there to represent their constituents. I'm very passionate about education. When we put together a choice bill, that I was disappointed that it wasn't as strong as I wanted to be. I wanted more, and that's the way every one of us, particularly those who want to make sure we bring down the debt, we look at the same thing, but we also have to be smart enough to recognize what we can get now and what we cannot get. If we're of the mindset that we're going to win this battle by Hail Marys every play, I think you should get another job. I think those who believe that way, they're doing the constituents a disservice by not letting them understand how we move this process through. And it was done this way on purpose. Our legislative process, in which things happen a lot quicker in the House, a lot slower in the Senate, and then you have a president that oversees a lot of the that's our Constitution. That was done. The Heavenly Father put together this remarkable collection of people to come up with this one theme and one thought of a republic, a republic that believed in a constitution that's been alive and well for 250 years. That constitution says we cannot change things on a dime. We're not going to have a dictator in the executive. We're not going to have dictators in the Senate or the House. We're going to work together to collaborate. And we do that, we're going to come up with products that might not be what the perfectionists want, but will get us closer to what the perfectionists want. And we have to continue to work that, continue to be engaged, and send people to Congress that will stay tuned into that. And we have a window right now I've never seen like now. So if there's a time to raise your voice, to also understand how this process works, to not get over anxious about things that we cannot accomplish with the majority we have, now's the time to understand how that works out and move forward with it.
We were talking about this with a couple of our local congressmen here in the state of Utah, where there's a lot of congressional leaders within our state. I'm not talking state ones, not U.S. ones, where if they don't get everything that they want, they just try to kill the whole bill.
Yeah.
They're against that 10-yard pass or that base hit, and they try to get the home run or the Hail Mary like you were talking about, and it just doesn't work like that in even at state level and even less at the national level. You've got to be willing to negotiate and take that 10-yard pass or that base hit. Get what you can step by step, because on the Democrat side, that's all they've ever known is that slippery slope. They'll get a little LGBTQ thing passed, and then everybody's in an uproar of how liberal that was. But then it quiets down, and everybody forgets about it. And then all of a sudden, they'll take the next step and the next step, and we have this slippery slope towards more liberal things like what's going on in Oregon and other states. Kind of give us your opinion, or let the audience know how hard it really is and how much you have to work just to get that 10-yard pass or that base hit.
First of all, you're absolutely right. The reason that they were called progressives is that's what they do. They progressively, very slyly, very slowly, but with a long-term end game, and they get their job done. And as we think, okay, it's done, we finally got it, everybody's happy, they're now looking at the next phase to get to. For us to do what we have to do, first of all, we are very entrepreneurial. We're not the collective. We're very entrepreneurial. We have our constituents we fight for. We're individuals. So even we had a bigger majority, we almost blew up everything because we couldn't come together. Remember, we had what's called a CR. It's just a continued resolution, just to take a vote down the road in 30 days. Well, that CR got our speaker vacated, Speaker McCarthy, because we had people who wanted the perfect. Instead of looking at the bigger game, looking at the strategy we had, they decided to take this one issue. And now, by the way, they're voting for CRs all over the place. Just so you know, when President Trump was in, they are voting for CRs because it makes sense. They understand the vision he has. And that's the big piece, I think, where we are now. We finally have a president who everybody respects. And we're going to keep going back to Al Davis. Some of you guys may be too young to remember him, but Al had an instantaneous respect. When people showed up to that camp, they put their foot in the field, they realized it was going to be Al's way or no way. No, it was going to be Al's way or the highway. That's the way it was. And because of that, there's a respect that I'm going to be a part of this team instead of not being part of it. Well, that's what we have right now in D.C. President Trump's getting things done that no other person can get done because he has the respect of our conference. The American people love and respect him. And if we decide to go against him, we're going against the American people, and they will show their dislike by getting us out of office. So that is one, I think, the unique aspect we have going on here. And I would just say this to those who are listening. We only have one president. We have 200 plus whatever it is representatives. We all have a way of doing things, and not one of us has been ever elected president. And therefore, if we decide to do our own thing because it's my will or no, my way or no way, we are doing a disservice to everyone, including our leadership. I would say for those who are not quite there on everything, like the tariffs might have been an issue, the border might have been an issue. I would say this: trust our president. He is a genius at everything he's done so far. He's proven it. And if you just trust his instincts, trust the fact he loves our country, and he's putting himself around a lot of very good, smart people, independent, smart, thinking outside the box. He's developing leadership that's going to be there for generations, intergenerational. So I would say trust the president, see what he's done in the last 6 months, lean in on understanding more of how this works, and know that we're finally showing the difference in the light and the darkness. The darkness is being portrayed by the media. The darkness is being portrayed by Democrats who say we're all going to die if the big, beautiful bill goes through. We're all going to die if they close the border. They are so out of the loop that we cannot trust them. I would hope you don't listen to them anymore. And then just do your homework. I'm not saying totally trust the Republican Party either. Just do your homework. Look at what our history has always been. Look at what we're putting together. Find somebody that you can relate to in the Republican Party and hear how he or she expresses their vision. And you're going to find on our side a very hopeful, positive, innovative future based on merit. And we're going to teach our kids how to compete, how to be the very, very best, how when you win to be humble. That's another piece of it. Learn humbleness. That's a big piece of this whole process. And we've gotten out of that in a big way. You put that package together, you're going to have our kids get along so much better. And even if they don't agree with each other, they're going to be respectful enough to have this conversation and to get smart enough to one day bring them over with their reason and their wisdom. We get back to that. That's what we the people truly is all about, is us talking, collaborating, debating, but coming together and say, okay, this is the best for my family, for my community, and for my country. And when we do that, there's nothing like this country.
Thank you for bringing up that humility and that humbleness while the world is pushing pride is what's more important than humility. And we know that's not the case. What can we look forward to coming out now? What are you working on now in the next days, weeks that we should be looking forward to the outcome of?
Well, I would say the upside is we've done a lot of the heavy lifting. We've gotten to one big, beautiful bill. And keep in mind what it took even to get that done. There was debate on whether it be 2 or 3 bills. There was debate on what should be going in and what should go out. We got that in. So the upside of that is we have a product that will now show itself what it really is all about. It's no longer hypothetical. The American people who have had doubts, been listening to the dark hopelessness of the left, they're going to start to see that they've been lying to us. So I would say that's one of the things to keep an eye on. Look at the prices coming down, becoming energy, not only energy independent, but energy dominant. And Utah's going to be part of that, by the way. We're going to be able to export our energy to other places. Guess what happens? That's more income into Utah. We're going to be able to figure out a way to finally get some of our lands back. The lands, there are BLM lands that are little parcels that no one ever do anything with. And yet, we can't do anything with it either. And it's sitting right next to municipalities. We're going to be able to figure out some kind of way to get that kind of land back when 65% of our lands are owned by the federal government. We can't grow but so much. We can't graze but so much. We can't enjoy our country but so much because someone else in DC is owning it. If we can have some type of relationship where those areas that are not good for the federal but can be good for our cities, so we can take more land back, build environments where our kids can stay. And I tell you, my biggest dream, guys, I think I speak for most parents, have 6 kids and 17 grands. I do not want to export them. I want them to stay close by. I love the fact that I come home and all my kids and grandkids are here. I can go to see their events. I can spend time with them. That is the Utah way. And the only way to do that is we have to keep the costs down so they can buy homes. And that's why interest is going to be so important. We have to build our infrastructure up so they can go to work and come back without spending 3 or 4 or 5 hours on the road. And we need to make sure that we have, as we move further south down to the rural country, they have the infrastructure to build the business they have. They need to have the Wi-Fi, the broadband to get what they have to get done, so they don't have to come north to get all their business done with. So those are things we're working on. My ask is, for the committees I'm on the education, workforce, and transportation infrastructure. And my ask has been, if you want to find a model of a place, a state that balances the budget, that always comes in on time when it comes down to projects we run, that have the smartest kids because we train them really well with a system that collaborates, that has the most service-oriented people because we go out, and that's our culture, to go out and serve around the country, which brings us back a lot more humble than we left, more appreciative than we left. But that's our culture that we cannot take for granted. And my message to these guys, let Utah be the model. We have inland ports here. We're going to be able to export products and services that you never thought, that you never even knew existed. And our ranchers and the sheep herders, they're going to be able to push things out. We're going to have the Olympics here. We have one of the nicest airports. So in other words, we are the place that could be the hub of the entire West if you give us the opportunity. Let us build our infrastructure. Let us keep our kids, and we'll show the rest of the country how to do it. I'll say on the cheap. We'll let them show how to do it under budget. All right.
Yeah,
And I think
way
that's
under
kind of a cool
budget,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
A big thing that a lot of people really don't realize is you're very, very lucky that you're in a very deep red area. And you can really get away with saying what you want, pushing what you want, because your constituencies will have your back every single time. But there's a lot of Republicans that are not so lucky. They're in barely red states, a lot of blue there, very, very swing oriented. And like I said, we've only got like a 2-3 vote margin. So those people can't be as hardlined and as red and as conservative as the rest of us want them to be, because they've got a different constituency.
Yeah.
So it makes those votes a little bit more difficult. So negotiating between those in the deep red states is what is the miracle of getting that big, beautiful bill through, because
You
how
just
did you
nailed
guys
it.
get that through with that type of constituency?
You just nailed it. Keep in mind, and you're right, we have very deep red, and which can be extremely bold. And then we have those who have to be really careful. And guess what? We have a 3-seat margin, and we have probably 9 of my good friends that are in California and New York. So guess what? If we didn't have those guys, we would not be in the majority. We would not have the trifecta. We would not have the big, beautiful bill. So I want Americans to understand we have to respect that we will have differences. Even within our party, we're not going to all be the same. But if we are representing our constituency, if we have the same end game, that end game number one is we want to be able to build our businesses, build our families, have a legacy, feel free, enjoy our life, have retirement. If that's what we want to get done, let's talk to make sure we're getting it done right. I'll say this: if you follow the lead of the left, we'll never get any of those things I just talked about. We'll never retire with dignity. You'll never have an education and have a good job with dignity. I mean, I can go through a list. We have the chance to do it, but we have to make sure we're always talking and respecting those good people that run in those very difficult districts. When, I'll say this, with President Trump at the head of they're going to be a little bit more flexible now. Because even in those blue districts, they're beginning to see something that's happening with President Trump, which give our friends a little more
Well, every
leverage.
single time he wins, it makes it easier for those people in those bluer states. And so
Exactly.
the winning and the winning and winning is make it easier for that constituency. Kind of moving on here, we've had some pretty big bombshells come out in the last week with Tulsi Gabbard. What's your opinion on all the paperwork and what's going on with what Obama and Clinton did in 2016?
Well, this is what happens when the left gets arrogant. Understand, when you have no God, you become God. That's the way it works. It always has worked that way. And we have the left that decided they didn't want to follow the rules of the game. I'm not surprised. This has been coming out drips and drabs. For those who only listen to the media, the mainstream, this is probably a shock to them. But I've always known that we've had on the left, but starting with Obama, some very bad things happening. Our country began to divide with Obama. He was supposed to be the guy who's bringing us together, the one that will not see color anymore, and he starts putting things into our school systems that does nothing but divide us. If you want to talk about where the whole concept of boys being in girls' bathrooms, it was to the Obama administration that pushed that down in a letter to our public school system. And if they didn't do that, they would lose the lunch program for the poor kids. That's the way these guys work. So what's happening right now, I think, is first of all, is well overdue. And I'm hoping those who listen to this podcast realize this: truth will always come out. It's just a matter of time. So don't ever think we can do things in the dark and that it will never show. At some point, it's going to show up. And right now, what's happening? There's accountability that's coming for that entire administration for all the devious things they did to our country so they can hold on to power. They will do anything. And the American people suffered through it. We were divided because of it. We now have half the people in our country that's very cynical about everything. Cynical about our president. Cynical about the Republican Party. Saying, I'm a white racist. I'm a white supremacist. I mean, that's the kind of conversation these guys are having. And they're having these pliable minds that listen to them all the times that believe them. So we have to do this. We're going to continue to be successful. And that's going to be our greatest comeback. Success, people feeling better, happier, more hopeful, and all of a sudden they realize they're no longer Democrats. They realize, wait a minute, I'm either independent, I'm going to vote one way or the other, I'm going to listen to both sides, or I'm now Republican because the Republicans have the values that I've always believed in.
Well, Brennan and Comey are pretty deep into these issues, and they'll probably see some prosecution.
They'll go to jail. I think they'll go to
Most
jail.
people do not think Obama or Clinton will see anything happen to them at all. What's your opinion there?
I don't either. Even though I'm not sure of the legal terms, but when a president is in office, there's a shield of protection. I don't know if it's been worth to try to pierce that shield. What's going to happen is Obama will go down in history for what he's done. And for people like that, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. They live in this world, and I guess I understand how that world works. You know, being in the NFL for 10 years, being in this little bubble where you're looked at because your talent is something very special. People see you, they want your autograph. And I've seen guys get really crazy because that's attention they've never had before. But it's so easy to get into this mode that I can do anything, anytime, and whatever I do, I'm going to be successful. Because if you think it's all about you, that's what happens. And that's what happened with Obama. He has had this, he's been on the world stage and everybody bows down to him as the all whatever. Well, for him, the worst thing that could happen is that history tells a story that he was a cheat, that he lied to our country, that he betrayed us in so many different ways, that he was a terrible, terrible executive, that under him, nothing worked out right. Matter of fact, under him, they lost their party membership, power. All those things coming out for Obama will be worse than going to having a trial, to be honest with you. So the truth is going to come out at the end of the day. And I'm looking forward to that. And American people.
What will think will happen with Clinton?
I would say that the same thing, that anybody who does bad things should pay the consequences. I guess you ask the questions, did you ever think something like that could happen to Trump, where they would raid his Mar-A-Lago home, where they would charge him for stuff all across the country? Who would ever think that would happen to a president? Well, they did it. So because they did it, everything's on the table. And I think the first time that Clinton got away with this, from what I can see, this time she won't. And so it's going to be very interesting. And I believe the greatest thing that will come out of it, there are so many good people in the Democratic Party, so many that love our country, that want great things to happen, that love their kids, they want the community to grow. And they're going to start to see for the first time something they ever thought was possible. They're going to see people who were treasonous when it comes to our country, for our American way. They're going to see people who did things on purpose in the dark, think they can hide, and it's going to turn them off. They're going to turn them off this Democratic Party because they're all in. There's some that is all into this stuff. So I think out of it, we're going to have some generations of time in which American people will start to come back, understand their country, be able to focus on their kids, and pass it down. And at some point, the way that works out, that little wave, we'll get to a point where we get prideful again.
Yeah.
And then here we go.
This last Friday or Saturday, I mean, Tulsi had the initial release. Then Obama was able to respond, and then she released the last document last Friday and Saturday that was specifically on Clinton's kind of health status. She was on heavy tranquilizers, was going through mood swings like crazy. And there's a hypothesis, I mean, Glenn Beck was expressing, a few others are expressing it, that the only reason they had the Mar-A-Lago raid is because they thought Trump had that document and they're trying to find it. So it didn't come out. Do you think that's a valid opinion?
It's a very valid. You have to understand there's always a rhyme and reason to what these people do. They don't do it just because. Now, of course, they could do it just to soil his reputation, which they didn't mind that too. But at the end of the day, they're after something. They didn't find it obvious because Tulsi has it, Tulsi Gabbard has it. So it is exciting to me that they understand that old saying, what goes around comes around, number one, and that truth will always come out. We just keep those two things in mind. Yeah, hopefully it'll help us as we make our decisions throughout our lifetime. It's going to show up.
If we can at least get history recorded correctly, I guess we'll take that first base
At least
hit.
it's coming out correctly this time. One of the last things I wanted to discuss, so it's coming out today actually, that all we're going to Israel here, Israel and Hamas, that all the humanitarian aid that was been sent by Israel, it's been sent by the U.S., is being found in warehouses all over Gaza, being held up by Hamas, and that they were actually selling it to their own people and funding their own operations there. And it's coming out that now the people are protesting against Hamas and trying to raid these places and get those supplies out, which goes to prove that Israel was right, U.S. was right, that we were doing what we could to take care of the people, and it's all been Hamas.
Not surprising, and keep in mind, you'll never hear this from the Democrats. Truth is not their wheelhouse. This is what evil does. And I think it's important for people, we live in a country, most of us will never run across really, really, really bad people. Those have no light in their soul. We don't run across them, so we don't know what evil is. We think evil might be somebody cursing at us, that kind of stuff. There is pure evil in this world, and Hamas represents that. What's been happening in Gaza they teach their young children to hate someone else, that they're willing to be martyrs. They're willing to die so they can kill other people. That is the worst of the worst. So at the end of the day, we start off early. Said negotiating with these with evil is just impossible. It doesn't work because they're always trying to figure out what's best for them, and if a win-win is not something they're going to ever go for. So sadly, there's hostages they still have. And keep in mind, when I say hostages, that means folks that have already passed away, because the Israeli people believe in life, they believe in a very sacred part of life, which is the body and all that kind of stuff. So they're willing to bend to get their hostages back, where other countries would have said, no, we'll go for it. Let's just get this thing done with. So we have to respect that culture. And because of that culture, the Hamas is taking advantage of it and pushing it out as far as they can. I think President Trump just recently told the Israeli premier, it's up to you. Go for it. We're going to back you up. Because they realize at some point they will never capitulate. They'll never give back particular people that are still alive. They want to hold on to them because they can hide behind them. That's what evil does. So it's pure evil. And those who understand that and then agree with that or try to hide that, they share in that same evilness.
Well, bringing that home, we're seeing still a lot of this pro-Hamas protests here in our home front. And it's coming out, and I'm seeing it all over TikTok and Instagram, where there's videos coming out of mosques, Muslim mosques here within the country, where children are actually singing about slitting throats and cutting heads of the infidel, of the Zionists.
Yeah.
And that's being taught right here in our own borders, along with what's going on in the university and these
Yeah.
anti-Semitic protests.
They're blocking freeways and overpasses and getting out and obstructing traffic.
Well, first of all, we have a new sheriff in town. We're not going to let hatred continue to be taught throughout our country, particularly with taxpayer funding. We're going to highlight where hatred is taught. Just like in the days when I was growing up, the KKK could not survive because American people turned on them. We have Islamists who hate our country, that hate Israel, that teach our kids to do the same. That's not gonna last long here. We need to make sure anybody's doing that goes home. Home is not here because obviously if this was home, they would treat it as such. They would respect it. They would love it. They would love the people, their neighbors, but they don't. So those who believe that way, if they're not here permanently as a citizen, they need to go home. And we have a sheriff in town that's finally getting that done with, so we don't have enemies sleeping with us every single night, wondering when they're going to hit us next time. Those days of allowing that to happen on purpose is not going to happen anymore. So we're going to get out of our country those who do not belong here, those who have not been vetted, those who are not assimilating. I think there is a way to work. There are good people here that's grown up all their lives. I'm not sure just what that looks like. Should not be a pathway to citizenship at any point, but there should be some kind of way that we can work through the nuance of the good people, maybe giving them a chance. I don't know. That's something that President Trump has to work out, and those who are kind of in this wheelhouse. But he's already looking at ways to support our agriculture because we know that's a place that we need to have help from those who are coming from other countries. What that looks like will not be citizenship for sure, but it might be a smarter way for the H-2 visas to come through and work and then go home. Again, a good conversation to have now that we shut the border because we could not do this before the border was shut, and the Democrats knew that too.
So we've had interviews with several veterans associations, Heroes Haven, Veterans of Foreign Wars. Our veterans are saying it is between 19 and 22 veteran suicides a day.
Yeah.
Are you seeing anything within the congressional that's being put out there to kind of help that? I mean, one of the things we expressed this last week, there's $183 billion going to Ukraine that went to Ukraine.
Yeah.
We spent $138 billion on the Iraq war. Who knows how much in Afghanistan wars. That's a lot of money that could have gone towards our veterans. What are we doing to help curb that veteran suicide?
Well, help our veterans, period. There's a new sheriff in town. You want to think about what the last administration thought about our veterans. Go to the homeless street cabinets. See where these folks who've had mental issues be able to assimilate and lose hope. We have a very pro veteran administration, House and Senate. We have now that we have control of the House, we have Veterans Affairs, and we're going to cut through all the red tape. I'm so thankful that we're finally cutting out all those middlemen that's forever taking up so much of our income and doing absolutely nothing for those that's supposed to serve. Whether it be veterans, whether about school kids, we've had an entire industry of people making six-figure incomes doing absolutely nothing. So we're going to get back to return on investment. That's the upside of a business-minded person like President Trump. He puts out an investment. What is the return? And if the return isn't right, let's make the changes, innovation, to make sure that those who are supposed to support are getting support they need. So we're going to make sure over the next 4 years our veterans' needs are taken care of expeditiously. We're going to make sure across the country, places where this should be, the hospitals where they should be getting service, if they're doing a good job or not, if they're doing things that are woke or not. Those are things we're going to be working at and looking at to get to the core mission. And I'll tell you what, people like Pete Hessek, those kind of guys, they get it. So I would say I'm thankful that the veterans will finally get a fair shake. They just have to just hang in until we can get our legs under us to get this thing done.
I appreciate that. I appreciate being on board with us. It's been a great conversation. I hope we can do it again because there's so much more we could get to. But you're a great congressman. I love the excitement that you bring to the table and kind of just simple drive that not very many people have there. I know you're working with Representative Kennedy and a few others on getting some stuff done.
Well, we have a remarkable team. I want to thank Utahns for the team they've given us. I can't say enough. The four of us are tight. We all have our niche. We all have our different personalities. We all have different districts. But just keep in mind the committees we're on. I'm on education and workforce. Mike shares transportation infrastructure with me. And he also shares with Celeste. Anyway, the rural committee, and I don't think of it offhand. But you look at that, and you have also being on the appropriations, which is what Chris Stewart just do. So, and of course, Blake is on the Ways and Means. All very powerful committees to make sure Utah is getting the representation they have. So I just want to say thank you to Utah. I'm one of those guys who came to visit my kids because they're going to college out here. And I finally realized, why am I going back to the East Coast when I can stay here? That's what's happening to anyone who visits enough. Matter of fact, my message to my friends, if you come to Utah too often, stay too long, you become a Utahn. And that's the way it works. So I want to thank you guys, first of all, for representing such remarkable values in this remarkable state that draws so many of us. And together, we're going to make sure that we can keep our kids here, that they are the smartest, the most work-ready, the most innovative and service-oriented people in the entire country. So, and which means the entire world. So we'll get that done. So thank you so much. And I look forward to, let's do this again at some point in the near future.
We sure
okay?
appreciate your time, and we definitely extend that invitation to come back.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. We'll talk to you again. Appreciate it.
Okay. Have a good one. Take care.
Well, that was a quick. I think he actually went a little bit longer than he was planning on going, which we knew was going to happen, which we're glad that have happened. That we got a lot more out of him than we were planned. We're still trying to get Representative Kennedy on. He was scheduled a month or so ago. But,
Why are they so busy?
But they're still trying to reschedule. But yeah, Trump's got him pretty busy trying to get all this done. And I'm glad that they did pass that reconciliation bill, or that pull back a lot of that DOGE money. That's not getting the publicity it should be getting.
Yeah, and I think something important he brought up is, like, I'm not for tariffs. I've never thought tariffs were a good thing, but I trust Trump. And so it's a wait and see, and I'm watching how things are playing out and how brilliant he actually is in doing this and how little I knew.
Well, he's in Scotland today, and I think it was England and a few other nations just agreed to a 15% overall tariff, which has dropped theirs down. Hopefully it drops even further than that, because he's just going to keep the reciprocal tariffs going. We're going to watch the comments, because just within the last 2 days, I've had a lot of comments on tariffs, and I've been bantering back and forth with a few people there. So,
and you get it, but do your research and then watch. I mean, he's been making great decisions so far. So watch and see. You may not understand everything that's behind it. Watch what comes to fruition.
Yeah, but the complaint always is that it's an extra tax on the consumer, but you have to realize that, yes, that's true, but it's only true for a very, very short period of time, because we as business owners and bigger companies like Walmart are even more powerful than we will ever be as small business owners. And trust me, they'll go to China and these other countries and they'll renegotiate their costs so that they can absorb a lot more of those tariff fees, so it's not passed on, because they know what the consumer is going to be willing and not willing to pay. But as we renegotiate those prices with our foreign suppliers, they get a lot of pressure on them, because they've only got thin margins over there. It's not like China's making a ton of money. Those poor workers over there, they work on hardly any money at all. So they will then put pressure on their superiors. Their government officials will then come over and start negotiating with Trump and drop the tariffs that they have on our products. We'll drop ours in sequential order, and then all of a sudden we're exporting near as much as we're importing. And you have to understand that increases the value of the dollar worldwide. So your spending money will actually increase because the value of the dollar goes up when we're exporting. The value of the dollar does not go up. It actually goes down when we're importing. When there's a deficit, which we are in, we're in a trade deficit with every country out there. the value of the dollar depreciates. And so when that trade deficit equalizes, the value of the dollar goes up.
When
And so
we've been
you're-
doing things recklessly for so long, to be able to rein it in, you have to put up with a little bit of sting. It's just like if you had a bunch of credit card debt in your family and mom and dad say, for a minute, we're not getting the new blue jeans, you're not getting those new Nikes because we got to rein everything in, fix our budget. There's going to be some sting for a little bit. You're going to maybe, 16-year-old has to get a job. We have to do things to rein it all in, and there's going to be some ouch. But in the end, everything will smooth and pan out.
Yeah, the biggest ouch we have right now is our debt. I mean, it is obscenely high debt. And even with the big, beautiful bill, they had to increase the debt ceiling just to get that through. But as they do these reconciliation bills and pull that money back, that will start going back down again. But like Burgess was saying, all this money that DOGE found, they can't just go and reappropriate it overnight. It's just not how it works. That's not how legislation works. It's not how they're going to work. And as we discussed, there's a lot of legislators in deep red states and then barely red states, and not every single dime DOGE found is going to be able to get reappropriated just because they're going to try to make their own constituencies happy. But a lot of it will. And so what the big beautiful bill is paying for right now and the debt that's bringing will eventually come back down as long as they can keep passing these reclamation bills that pull back that money. But the other interesting thing about that is, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but as this DOGE money gets pulled back, as USAID gets shut down, as the Department of Education starts getting shut down, you're noticing notably that there's a lot of Democrats that don't have any money now. There's campaign money. You notice that what AOC and Saunders has done, they had their big tour. They're going on private planes and stuff like that. All of a sudden, they had to stop their tour short.
The latest polls, though, show Kamala's still way ahead of her, and Kamala's not going to win anything.
She's not even going to run. But I'm just noticing that there's a lot of programs that are all of a sudden getting cut and shortened, because we've always said from the beginning that USAID money would go to some nobody program. $400,000-$500,000 would get paid in salaries to somebody who's running the program. They'd take home a big fat paycheck to keep their mouth shut. And then the rest of that money gets filtered back to the Democrat committees, to campaigns, to programs that they want to get done here within the United States, as well as other parts of the world. It's that secret petty cash coffers that they've had forever. And we've always said in previous podcasts is one, the Democrats lost this election. They lost the House, they lost the Senate, they lost the presidency. They don't have the Supreme Court. The only thing they did have was the deep state, which is deep state employees. And then they had this secret money coming in from USAID, and there's other coffers that they would peddle around, circumvent, and they'd still fund all the programs they wanted because they'd get deep staters to set a policy, funnel the money some strange way.
So you really think this is going to have an effect on the deep state? They're going to get outed or lose
deep
their...
state's getting fired. They're getting let go. I mean, USAID is gone, so none of those employees can do anything anymore. They just cut the Department of Education by 50%. They're in the middle of doing that, so all those deep state employees can't funnel money anywhere around. Hegseth is actually making massive cuts in the Department of Defense, which a lot of money was getting funneled around to these other programs. So those coffers are being cut off. The deep state employees are being cut off. So the Democrats lost the House, lost the Senate, lost the presidency, don't have the Supreme Court, but then they lost their last line of defense, which was secret money and deep state employees that were still getting their programs done. So there's a lot of changes going on right now, and that's why they're so desperate and so freaked out and kind of looking like they're doubling down on everything every single second because that's all they got left to do.
Maybe they'll lose the funding for hiring protesters.
Well, that was the other thing that I was noticing is that protests, all of a sudden the California protests stopped. All the picket signs and the big balloons and everything all of a sudden are stopping.
It's going to be fun to watch.
Funds are drying up, and I'm positive that taxpayer dollars were paying for all that through various means and funneling money around.
And then we got to pray for our youth and our millennials who have been believing all this.
It's going to be interesting to see what they say after all this, because after Tulsi Gabbard came out with everything that she came out with, proving that the 2016 election or the 2020 election was stolen, and everybody's been, no, that's just a conspiracy theory.
They're all coming to light now.
Wow, it was stolen. It's not a conspiracy theory. And not only that, but then now today showing that everybody has been saying that Israel's bombing innocent civilians, not taking care of them, impeding humanitarian aid from going through. And then today it comes out that it's not. In fact, there's countless numbers of videos on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, where people are on the ground showing it, saying, look, this is a warehouse full of humanitarian aid that Hamas is not releasing and won't release it to their own people unless they go in and buy it from them. And it should be free. So now both the U.S. and Israel are sending in countless numbers of trucks full of humanitarian aid, and they're actually handing it out directly to the people.
احنا احسن حل لا على الهويه بتسلم ولا على بصمه العين، كل غزه احسن. الناس بتاخذ كرتونه وثلاثه. بتاعت حماس بتقول لك تروحش على الامريكان، يخلف على الامريكان هم بدون طحين واكل. اسامه حمدان في قطر شبعان نايم تحت المكيفات هو ونسوانه واولاده، بقول لك ما حدش يروح، احنا بنراهن على ايش؟ على صمود شعبنا. صمود مين يا حبيبي؟ تعال تفرج كيف الناس، تفرج كيف الناس جعانه بتروح. نصيحه من الشعب لحماس، سلموا وراقك وروحوا، دمرت غزه، يا عم ارحمونا من شيء الامن ارحمونا. ثانك يو ترامب. هذا وصلتنا يا حماس. يخلف على ترامب طعمين وحماس بتجوع مشهد يا عالم. حماس اللي بتقول لك مقاومه وسلاح وشعبنا صامت، تفرج كيف الناس كل قطاع غزه بروح عند الامريكان عشان يطعموهم. يخلف على ترامب، ثانك يو ترامب. انا اللي بطعميني هذا يخلف عدينه. احسن ما واحد يجي من تعاون حماس تعاون قطر يقول لي ايش؟ خليك في دارك وما تشاركوش الاسرائيليين الامريكيين في هذا المشروع، لا بدنا نشاركهم بدنا ناكل، تعال طعميني وبديش اروح على الامريكان، بس تعال طعميني ما تضلكش صامت في قطر وانت نايم ومكيف. بقول لأسامة حمدان، بقول حسبي الله فيك وفي اولادك كمان، وان شاء الله تذوق اللي ذقناه. احنا بنقول حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل في حماس، ان شاء الله تذوق اللي ذقناه. ايش تقول لأسامة حمدان؟ ايش بقول لأسامة حمدان؟ تعال اقعد عندنا، فاوض معنا، جوع معنا، موت معنا، ايش بدنا نقول له؟ هو وابنه والنونو وكل القيادات، حسبي الله ونعم الوكيل عليهم، الله يجعلهم يذوقوا اللي ذقناه. احكي لنا تفاصيل. التفاصيل والله احنا وصلنا ما اخذناش حاجه. في ناس من الشعب اخذ 50 كرتونه وفي ناس ما اخذش ولا كرتونه، احنا بدنا نظام لهذا الكلام. وشعب بلا مؤاخذه ماشيين كله من القل ومن الجوع. كان في آلية تفتيش؟ في لا في تفتيش ولا في آلية، الامريكان واقفين على جنب والصحيح. ايش رسالتك لأسامة حمدان والوفد المفاوض؟ أسامة حمدان بدنا واقف حرب احنا، واللي بفاوضوا مش حاسين فينا مشهان، بياكلوا خرفان وبياكلوا كباب، مش حاسين فيها الشعب الجعان. هاي رسالتي وبدنا واقف حرب. ويعطيك العافية.
And then Hamas is even going into those areas. They're handing out directly to people and forcing them to get into these lines and only limiting how much they're getting. And then Trump came out and just a few hours ago and said, hey, we're going to get rid of the lines. The people are going to get the food. So no matter what happens, Hamas is trying to control it. Why? Because they want the sob story out there. They want to control the media. They want everybody to say, oh, poor people. And it's all a lie. It's all a lie. But the point is how well do you think that information is going to get out? I mean, how many of these people are in our comment section or anybody else that's on the left going to listen and all of a sudden see that?
Not when they don't want to.
Not when they don't want to. See that the truth's been out the whole time. They're just not paying attention to it.
Yeah, if any of our viewers have videos and you want us to share, they need to be truthful and you need to have your sources, but we'd be happy to share them.
Yeah, great videos coming out on that. There was a British military guy that came out. He was filming it himself, just showing countless numbers of trucks and videos and like that. A couple other people were showing it. Huge lines of them just handing out humanitarian aid, trucks showing up, and the Israelis are up there.
Just scary with those trucks. I had an acquaintance a few years ago. She was showing me her family they were sending her by phone videos so that people in Venezuela, because they knew that they couldn't get it out anywhere, But the aid that the U.S. was sending, their government was just burning it, shooting down she was showing me videos of semis and the people trying to get the stuff and get it thrown to them before they were just setting it on fire and confiscating it.
Yeah.
Blowing up
the
the
exact
trucks
same
of
things
aid.
happened. There were actually videos of these trucks pulling up to these areas in Gaza, and Hamas soldiers were up there with rifles hitting people off the trucks with them. They weren't shooting them, which is good. They weren't shooting their own people, but they had the muzzle end of it, and with the stock in the gun, hitting their own people off the trucks so they couldn't get the humanitarian aid, and they're trying to take over the trucks. And there's full-on videos of that. It's just
Pray
everything's
for
a
the
lot.
people of these corrupt governments.
Well, then you go back to what Tulsi Gabbard's going out. The absolute lies that went out, the whole Russia hoax, and the absolute lies that has gone out on that. They wanted power and they didn't care what the cost was. They didn't care who died, who was blackmailed, who was framed. They wanted power at all costs, and they were willing to do whatever it took to get it. The only thing that held them back was getting caught. Riding that line as far as they could go without it getting out in public. But guess what?
Truth's coming out.
It's out in
Truth's going to
public
bite you in the
now.
butt.
It's out in public now. But like he said, nothing's going to happen to Obama. Nothing's going to happen to Clinton. But
That made me sad to hear. Well, he doesn't know everything. We don't know.
everybody knows that. They're untouchable at this point. But Comey and Brennan, they're probably going to see jail cell. Probably a few others. I hope Adam Schiff sees one. Old Shifty Shift. I mean, that guy was horrible. All those secret sessions that he held down in the bunker of the White House. And he locked the Republicans out of them during that whole thing when they were impeaching President Trump, impeaching him twice.
And if he tries to talk or out anybody, they'll just have him killed.
Yeah.
He'll hang himself in jail.
He hasn't even spoken. Not a word from Shifty Shift. I haven't seen anything from him, which is interesting. Interesting. All right. Well, we hope you liked this episode. We're going to have more congressmen coming on board and do similar things. Hopefully they give us a little bit more time because there's a lot to discuss, a lot we're trying to cram into a very, very small window.
We really need you to share you can share the shorts that you find on YouTube, share the ones that you find on different social media platforms. But we have to get more truth out there for people to at least see an opposing view and question what the mainstream media is telling them. And that takes you as a viewer to do.
Please support the channel. The biggest thing we're looking for right now is just listening hours. We know our podcasts, they're 2-3 hours long, kind of after that Sean Ryan style.
You don't have to listen to it all at once.
Yeah, there's a lot of information, a lot of really, really good information, and probably a lot of the best information we cover is always the last hour of the podcast because we kind of cover preliminary stuff at the beginning, but you really, really need to go to those last hour and a half our podcast and at least listen to that. But get that listening time in, help support the channel, and we appreciate everybody's attendance. We'll see you next week.
Next week.